They'd love to go back and face a fair trial. But unfortunately, as you surmised in your question, there is no fair trial available on offer right now. I've been working exhaustively with the government now since I left to try to find terms of a trial which would allow the public to look at these issues. It would be open, it would be clear, we wouldn't have any abuse of procedure where we'd say, oh, well, yeah, we've got all this great evidence against him, but it's classified, of course, so you can't know it.
He was once a man who was talked about as a potential president of the United States. Contrast that with the man you just saw, who many call a coward for seeking to sell out the United States. Sides of an interesting coin with ramifications on American security. Now, once again, we welcome back former CIA analyst Lisa Ruth, who brings us her expertise. And we're also joined today by retired U.S. Army Major General, veteran military analyst, and co-author of the book Endgame, The Blueprint for Victory in the War on Terror, Paul Vallely. Major General, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you, Ed.
All right, let's go ahead and start right out with Edward Snowden, first of all, who says he cannot get a fair trial. Everything's going to be classified. Let me ask you, and this is, please understand the tongue-in-cheek on this. Do you really care if a guy like this gets a fair trial in the first place? Because there's people saying that what he did to this country, it's easy to prove.
Well, our objective is always to have a fair trial that's unprejudiced. So if he decides to come back and be faced with the trial, then he'll have to face the consequences of giving away classified information to the enemy.
Does it still bother you when people sometimes call him a patriot?
Well, it does bother me because he had other avenues that he should have taken if he wanted to be a whistleblower within the NSA. And that's what you have to do. Or you resign and then you go public, but you certainly don't take this information and go to Russia and via Hong Kong and disclose the information. Pages and pages, thousands of items of information of a classified nature have been passed to the enemy.
Yeah, General, I completely agree with you. And one of the things that I'm sort of perplexed about is when they talk about not getting a fair trial, or when he talks about because it would be classified. It's not classified that he broke the law, and it would be a fair trial. And I love the part where he says he's trying to educate the public so that he can have a fair trial. Well, it's not really it's not a court of the public. It's where we have to have the actual court take care of this. But if he was to come back, in your opinion, I mean, how significant was this leak?
Well, I don't know the details, Lisa, as far as the levels of classification, confidential, secret, top secret information that he revealed. I don't think we've ever been given the opportunity to know that in detail. So I'm not sure the level of information that was passed that Russia picked up and would be used by their intelligence sources to the detriment of the security of the United States.
General, let's turn to the other gentleman that I mentioned here a few moments ago, David Petraeus. This is what an amazing fall from grace this was. He will not serve a day behind bars if the government has its way for basically giving classified information to his mistress. There are a number of people saying that this is a double standard, that they look at people like Stephen Jinwoo Kim, who was hit with 13 months in prison, John Kirikow, who was hit with 30 months for disclosing to a reporter some identification of an undercover operative. What do you think? I mean, does this not, though, smack of an underwhelming amount of punishment here? And should David Petraeus be punished even further?
Well, my analysis of the events, Ed, she went over there to Afghanistan when he was the commander, evidently working on a biography. Now, she was a West Point graduate, a officer in the Army Reserves, as I understand it. General Petraeus was keeping these 8 black books of information, perhaps someday to do an autobiography or a book. Now, he shared some of that information, and that's what the investigators found, that he shared this information that were in these black books. Now, again, was it confidential? Was it secret? Was it top secret? We don't know that. She was not the enemy, which is different than Snowden. But then evidently the relationship continued when he left Afghanistan and became the head of the CIA. So evidently he had passed information to her in this discussion that he had when they were doing this books. And of course, they did have a relationship that was ongoing. But certainly, you know, when you look at Fast and Furious, you look at the IRS, you look at some of these other scandals in the administration, certainly that violated U.S. security to some degree, but the lying and deception by the administration, but no one has been taken to any kind of a trial for all of those deceptions that were conducted. And here you have General Petraeus sort of hung out to dry. So in a way, there is a double standard because of when you compare it to the other scandals within the administration and the fact that General Petraeus did not pass the information on to the enemy.
General, I got a little over 2 minutes left here, so let me then finally finish out with Army General Martin Dempsey, chairman of the Joint Chiefs. He now says that it needs a small team of U.S. troops in Syria. They are still not ruling it out. The military strategists still go, every time we talk to them, they say you're going to have people on the ground. So when General Dempsey speaks like this, do you think it's going to make any difference whatsoever as this administration looks to fight ISIS?
Not the way they're doing it, and as you may know, I'm the only senior person that's been inside Syria in the last 2 years with the Free Syrian Army, the true Free Syrian Army. And what I said then, help them, give them support, and you'll see a change of the situation in Syria. And nobody listened at that time. Congress didn't listen, CIA, FBI, the Defense Department, when I made my report. And I totally vetted everybody out over there. Now, as a result, you had the evolution of ISIS. But people on the ground, special ops, just like we did in the beginning stages of Afghanistan with air power and supporting what I call proxy forces, the Peshmerga, the true Free Syrian Army. They've got 40 to 50,000 men mobilized over there, as well as the women in the Peshmerga, to fight this war on the ground, but they need support. But this administration has always gone to the other side, supporting the Muslim Brotherhood backed operations over there. And so it's been a total mess, Ed, and we just need new leadership if we're going to go in and neutralize and terminate the activities and the operations of ISIS in that whole Middle East region.
Sooner or later, they have to listen to the military because sooner or later, they mostly know exactly what needs to get done. Major General Paul Vallely, always a pleasure to have you on the show, my friend. Thanks so much for joining us. I want to remind everybody, the book again is called Endgame, The Blueprint for Victory in the War on Terror. Major General, take care of yourself. Talk to you again soon.
Thank you, Ed.
All right, a pleasure. Lisa, thank you much for being here today and adding the CIA analysis side of things. Pay attention to the military, all right? Ad lib to the Supremes, their call on Obamacare. That's next, right here on MidPoint.